Welcome to the Dynasty Happy Hour podcast. Pull up a chair and kick up your feet as you get ready to enjoy some of the industry's most entertaining and actionable Dynasty content on the planet. We're talking veterans, rookies, sleepers, and oh yeah, you know the crew has those dad jokes ready for you. So let's not wait any longer and bring on the host or some combination of Doug, James, and Tyler.
Welcome into the Dynasty Happy Hour. That is right, you're hearing my voice. Doug is gone. He had some family stuff he has to do. My thoughts and prayers are with Doug. He's going through a little hard time with his family. So I'm taking over for him tonight. He'll be back next week for sure to kind of finish off these divisions. I know he's going to... Did we already do the East?
No, we didn't.
Sure.
We saved the best for last.
We're saving the East for last. I don't know why, because it's one of the grossest divisions. Well, not quite anymore.
NFC East, very nice.
I'd say right now the NFC West is probably the grossest division because there's one team that's fun. Well, maybe two, but then the rest is a crapshoot. But it is James and I. You heard his beautiful, lovely voice.
Well, hello there.
The subtle tones of James. But that is what we're going over, the NFC West. And you know what? James, how are you? How was your week?
I'm doing great. It was a great week in the land of James. Got the yard done early in the week, so I just spent the whole weekend with the family, which is, awesome. And playing a lot of blessed ball yesterday.
Blessed ball.
Blessed ball. It's blessed.
Yes. And speaking of that best ball, you can go to Underdog. Thanks for the segue.
Oh, I didn't even
Underdog,
know. Alley-oop.
And type in DHH, and with that you get $100 matched in your deposit. So you throw 20 in, you get 20 back. You throw 50 in, you get $50. But you know what? You might as well throw $100 in because they're going to match that 100 because it's football season. Football season is coming. We got the Hall of Fame game coming on Thursday. It's going to be fun for like 2 minutes, and then you're going to realize I don't know half these people that are playing, but you know what? This is where the Dynasty people love. You get to see those underdogs come up. The Anthony Schwartz come in and take a bomb down the field for 6 yards, get that hype, and then you can trade them. That's what I like about preseason. But you know what? The best part about preseason is you can also play underdog in preseason. You can bet on these games. And underdog, it is right now the best way to play fantasy, daily football. Best balls, get those in before the season starts because your time is running out. So you might as well use code DHH, get up to $100 match. Once again, code DHH, $100 match. Go in today. All right. I mean, let's just jump right into the news. There was a lot.
Yeah, we had a lot because training camp is just off the charts now.
So the first news was Joe Burrow. He got hurt. He was carted off. And everybody was willing to give their calves to Joe Burrow. No, we're not talking about tiny cows. We are talking about the actual part on your leg. They were willing to give them to Joe Burrow so he can play the season. But guess what? I'm not expecting anything to go into the season, but he is expected to miss the whole preseason. He missed it all last year due to an appendix, so he will probably be out this year. The preseason, we won't see him. I'm not scared by that. What is your thought about the Burrow injury, and how scared were you when it first happened? Because I know for a fact you're in a league with me where you have Joe Burrow and you need him.
I was a little nervous when I saw the reports, and I said, okay, I need to watch this to see if there was any contact, which there wasn't.
I thought it was
and
Achilles.
I thought it was his Achilles the way he went down. After a bunch of MRIs, the one that day and then the day after, it looks like it's just a low ankle or a low calf strain. I was listening to doctors report on it and et cetera, but it seems to be okay. And yeah, fine. He shouldn't be playing in the preseason anyway. He's a starter and we don't want to see our starters get hurt just like that. But I think it's okay for the regular season.
Yeah, I know they picked up some XFL quarterbacks. That's probably just to play the preseason. You need some bodies to play throughout the preseason. So I'm not too worried about that. Joe Burrow, it looks like he avoided something bigger than we all actually thought. Speaking of something that might be bigger than we actually think it is, Ken Walker, he's sidelined from a groin injury. Now, the issue with groin injuries is they can really last into the season. When it happens this close to the preseason, it's worrisome. But then you've got to look at Zach Charbonnet, the rookie they drafted in the second round, that could eat into it. He's got a shoulder issue. So both Seattle running backs are hurt. We'll get deeper into Seattle because there is a player that is catching everybody's attention that we will talk about. But let's focus on these two just for a tad because we'll dig deeper into them in this NFC West kind of preview.
Yeah, I'm not going to get too far into it now, but we will touch on Kenneth Walker. It just stinks right now because, we had a running back battle in that backfield going on during camp. We knew it was going to be somewhat of a split. And now we get to watch DJ Dallas and Kenny McIntosh just go for it. Yeah.
Yes, if you're an Apple fan, you're going to love the McIntosh because apparently he is blowing up all over preseason and training camp.
How you like them apples?
We'll definitely get into that. And speaking of some interesting news, Nyheim Hines suffered a significant knee injury in a jet ski accident that happened, right before training camp. And now there's some arguments between the Bills and him about his guaranteed money. And the Bills are kind of trying to get out of it because it was not a football injury. It was something that he should actually have not have been doing because, we all know the whole what's the tight end that he got in that motorcycle accident and pretty much lost a good chunk of his contract? Kellen Winslow Jr.
There you go.
It was, he got in a motorcycle accident, wasn't supposed to be riding that said motorcycle. That was part of his contract and lost a lot of money because of it. And Nyheim Hines looks like he's going into the same thing. Now, I don't want to get too much into it because next week we do have AFC East. But James Cook, a lot of hype going around him. And there is a lot of hope on him with this whole Nyheim Hines injury.
Yeah, I don't see them adding any significant depth behind it. So it looks like Damian Harris, James Cook, 1A, 1B, however you want to slice it. Obviously, James Cook is going to be the pass-catching back. And Nyheim Hines was really brought in for a more of a special teams role and a veteran outlook for that team. He wasn't really fantasy relevant, but it is news to the fact where it boosts up Cook's value out the gate.
He'll get those extra 4 or 5 touches that Hines probably would have gotten. Maybe even more because Hines was an explosive athlete with the ball in his hand. But, hopefully he's okay and can come back. But that is a sticky situation. Speaking of a situation that people are kind of devastated to hear, but I personally love it. Dalvin Cook, he observed Jets practice. They were cheering for him, Dalvin. And they pretty much pulled him in. I don't think he's getting out of New York, me personally. I think he's signing there. Playing next to Rodgers, who he got to see a lot as a Vikings player. Dalvin Cook with the Jets. He's going to take a physical with them. Hopefully the shoulder's okay. I think it will be. It looks like this is probably going to happen. What are you feeling with this?
I'm feeling great because I really don't have too much Breece Hall.
I don't think it matters.
I have a lot of Dalvin Cook still that I couldn't get rid of. And then, which he comes into a team where they are built to win a Super Bowl or at least make a run at it, with a quarterback that can dump down the ball quite often. We saw that with Aaron Jones in Green Bay. And I'm loving it for my Devin A-Chain's shares because I was really scared that Dalvin Cook was going to just waltz right into Miami and steal them all away.
Yeah, I actually like it for both. I think Breece Hall needs somebody like Dalvin. I brought it up I had a little meet and greet with a company called Did It. They are a one-on-one video service that you can do for fantasy football. So say you want my personal opinion on something and I sign into the app. You can actually, spend some time with me, with a little bit of money going into the app. You can spend time with me, and I can give you one-on-one video chat call. You get me for as long as you want, as long as I'm online. And I can go through trades, go through your teams, anything you want from me. And I was actually talking to the guys who created it. Very nice guys. Great app. I love the idea. I know Garrett Price is on it, and I am now on it. They got me on it. So if you want to. Once again, check out Did It, DIDIT, and it's a green Did It. So, yeah, I was talking to them about Dalvin Cook, and they said, "Are you worried about Breece Hall?" And I said, personally, I like it because there's really no bell cow back here. Even Najee doesn't have it all to himself. It's Jaylen Warren. So, like, having Dalvin Cook with Abikanda kind of learning from the two, and I don't think Michael Carter's anything special. Sorry.
Odd man out.
Yep. So for Dalvin to get some carries, so he's going to get 8 to 10 carries. Breece is going to get some. I think taking it easy, but people forget Dalvin tore his ACL as well. So having that insight from Dalvin Cook, Breece Hall, I think, is going to get stronger quicker by having that in the back of his head, because it's all mental with the ACL. The first year, you're all mentally thinking, oh, I can't cut like this. Dalvin can help him through that. So I think Breece is going to be just fine. They use multiple running backs anyways. I know Breece got like 20 carries one game, but 18 to 20, that's perfect. That's what you want. Some pass catching, he took 2 catches, all he needs is 1 to the yard. We saw that with Breece Hall. So I'm not too worried about Breece Hall. If there's an opportunity to buy him, go for it. Yes, 100%. But I don't think Dalvin hurts him. And I like this for Dalvin Cook. If their offensive line actually is good, like who's the big guy on the outside? Mekhi Becton, that it pops in my head. If he can play and stay healthy, this offensive line is actually legit. They're good. They drafted a lot of guys early. If they can all gel together, this line is good. So I like this for Dalvin Cook. I don't think it's going to be as much as a damper on Breece Hall.
Agreed.
So let's go into some big news that just happened last night. Jonathan Taylor met with Jim Irsay on the tour bus. They were hanging out, and they did not leave on good terms. Jonathan Taylor requested a trade. Irsay, said he's playing on what he's playing at. There's no extension, and it looks like it could be rough. Now, there are reports that the Colts will look for an earlier pick for Jonathan Taylor. I'm thinking 3rd, 2nd rounder, because, his contract is coming up, and you're going to have to pay the guy because he's one of the better runners. And here we go. The downfall of the 101 at one point. Yes, the 101 at running back.
Should have sold last year when Tyler told you to.
The fall is happening, and it's happening quick. Like, we thought Todd Gurley was quick. Jonathan Taylor is falling from the sky. Now, I've thought about buying him, but this worries me. It's not the injury that worries me. Like, he's going to be fine. The contract stuff worries me because if you go down that Le'Veon Bell route, like, how good can he actually be if he holds out for so long? Like, I think Barkley realized that in signing his. We'll get to that. But Jonathan Taylor, give me your opinion. And I know there's a guy behind him that they drafted in the 5th round that I think all of us at Dynasty Happy Hour really likes his 3-down potential.
Yeah, he had 2 good seasons before he was injured pretty much throughout the season last year. And he was a top 6, then number 1 overall. And he's only 24 years old. So if Jonathan Taylor's value is getting hit by this, I'm definitely going out and trying to obtain Jonathan Taylor a little bit on the cheap. You're still going to have to pay a 1st plus, maybe not 2 firsts plus like you would before this news. So yeah, I'll take a shot. I'll reach out to most of the league members in my teams, in my leagues rather, and see if I can get some Jonathan Taylor, because just like Miles Sanders, even more so than Miles Sanders, he has a great career so far. He had 1 bad year coming off an injury. Now he's going to play or maybe not play. Like, what happens? He's starting out right now on the PUP, and he can hold out all of training camp due to that injury without a problem. And then maybe it trickles in to September. So that may lower his value even more. And Irsay says he's not trading him now. He's not trading him in October. But obviously they're going to have to let a contract negotiation happen, which leads me to Evan Hull, who we were pounding the table for in the offseason before the combine. During the Senior Bowl, he really showed out. Yep. His work ethic is on the elite level.
Look at the combine.
He ran every single ball into the end zone nonstop. And those are the kind of players that I want on my team. And who do they have? They have the corpse of Zach Moss,
Deion
Jackson, and Evan Hull. And I think Evan Hull is automatically the number 2 in this backfield. Deion Jackson, he was a hit and miss guy last year. Zach Moss, they brought him over from Buffalo because he did not work out really well in Buffalo.
Jag.
Yeah. And guess what? Evan Hull comes in fresh. I don't care if he's a 5th-round pick or not. I think he's going to make some noise, and people should start getting on that train now.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with Evan Hall. And with Jonathan Taylor, it's all about price. If you feel comfortable enough giving up a first-round pick, which honestly I think that's all you really have to give at the moment, especially 24 first, a lot of hype going around there. His value has definitely dropped, but he is definitely risky. Like, give me the opportunity to trade. Like, in a league, I made a trade. I know the guy I made a trade with, he said, if this isn't on the podcast, I'm going to come after you. So I made a trade in the league. I was desperate for running back. This guy had Sanders, Dobbins, and Jonathan Taylor all available, and I was packed at wide receiver. Like, I am stacked to the gills at wide receiver. I'm good. So he wanted either what's his name? Johnson,
quarterback.
Johnson from the Chargers, the rookie. We got he was interested in Higgins. Those two I said were kind of off limits because Johnson, I think his value can still go up, and Higgins is Higgins. So with those running backs, I was like, maybe Higgins for Taylor. No, I wasn't kind of feeling that with the whole contract dispute and his injury. So I went to Dobbins and Sanders, and kind of fell on Dobbins because I gave up Calvin Ridley and Sky Moore for Dobbins. Now I'm like, Ridley and Sky Moore are like my wide receiver 7 and 10. So I'm good at receiver. Dobbins literally falls into my running back 3 spot, maybe even 2, depending on how healthy he comes in. So I was excited about that, and that was kind of my feeling about Jonathan Taylor was I'm like, I was there, I wanted to, but I just couldn't pull it together to do it because I'm scared. Like, it's a running back.
So what was the full trade?
The full trade was Dobbins for Calvin Ridley and Sky Moore.
Not bad. Not bad.
And I'm very needy at running back. Like, after Dalvin got cut, I was.
That's fair. And the more and more I listen to other Dynasty podcasts, shout out to the footballers, they talk about these second contracts, and J.K. Dobbins is another candidate to where he can get a second contract due to the lack of production in his rookie contract and his age and the fact that he's really, really talented. So I'm looking forward to Dobbins this year, more importantly, after his contract is up.
100%. Now let's go on to another running back that was drafted before Nick Chubb. And that was another player I traded for recently in a league I'm in with James. Sony Michel retires. 5 seasons, 2-time Super Bowl champ. Now, I would say there's one team that he actually helped win that Super Bowl. But Sony Michel, he was fun. All the hype was on him on Georgia. Super explosive. And then it seemed like he went to New England, and his explosiveness disappeared.
His best year was his rookie season.
Yeah. There was a lot of hype on him. I thought he was going to be a different player in the NFL. He turned into a grinder. I thought he was going to be an explosive pass catcher. Did not happen. So, enjoy the retirement. You got 2 Super Bowls. Good on you. And, yeah.
I mean, 2 Super Bowls in 5 seasons. Like, he can't be mad at that at all. Walk off into the sunset, Sony Michel.
But as a Patriots fan and how you always won, you guys took Sony Michel over Nick Chubb. Think about that. Nick Chubb will probably go into a 3rd contract. I personally think. Rams signed Royce Freeman today. Who cares?
Well, there we go. We'll get into more Rams talk later.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some more contract news. We'll do this quick because, we all know Herbert's a stud, and he signed a 5-year, $262.5 million contract extension. I know a bunch that is guaranteed. That was God, I swear
a lot of it was guaranteed.
It was like over 200.
Mm-hmm.
So he is one of the, if not the most highest paid quarterback known today. I think Deshaun Watson's guaranteed still will always be the top because nobody wants to do that again. But
nope.
Justin Herbert, congrats on getting paid. I love Herbert. We don't really need to dig deep into that.
Nope.
Aaron Rodgers restructures his deal, 2 years, $75 million fully guaranteed, which I think guarantees him to play through 2024. So he has 2 years. He's playing through it. I love this, especially if you have him and you're a win now team. If you want to go out and get Rodgers, you feel comfortable knowing this guy's playing for 2 years. I love that feeling. Me personally, if he loves New York this much and has success, he could play longer. So Aaron Rodgers' value in Superflex went up a little bit. So if you have him and you kind of feel like you want to trade off, go for it. What do you feel about Aaron Rodgers?
I think it's there. And there was a funny tidbit in the news today. Twitter was blowing up over it about how he went back at Sean Payton for Sean Payton's remarks on Nathaniel Hackett. Dude, don't keep my coach's name out your mouth.
He's got some fire lit under him. So
yeah. I think he's falling right into the Gotham City feel of the Jets. I think there's a little sinister side to him, yet he's supposed to be like some kind of dark knight that is going to bring the team out of the ashes. So, I'm excited for the Jets this offseason, and I'm excited to see what Rodgers does this year, and I'm on board with you. He's playing next year as well.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson, get healthy. He has an ankle injury, I think it's a low ankle sprain, so
yeah, he'll be all right.
He can get healthy. Yes, hopefully that doesn't kind of hamper him through the season, but it shouldn't. Going to the other New York team, Saquon Barkley inks a 1 year, $11 million contract. Excuse me, but the thing is, it's not under the franchise tag, so they can still franchise. I know this is a huge thing. They still have the tag available for him for 2 more years, so he has 2 more tags. This does not count as a tag. He is under a 1 year contract, $11 million, and he was going to refuse to play. And then he had kind of come to Jesus and was like, hey, I want to play. I'm going to show up and I'm just going to play and show that show his worth. He's 26 years old. He has a chance to earn more than he would under the tag, but just barely, like maybe $1 million more.
It's more incentive laden than anything. And I think it makes sense for both sides. Both sides wanted to see something get done. Barkley comes in, and yes, he has a new agent that was kind of holding him back. However, Barkley wants to play. He was never like, well, he was. It is what it is. And then the holdout news started to take over, and guess what? Barkley isn't that kind of guy. He wants to play.
No,
he loves the game. And he is a 100% team player. So with the team agreeing on this 1 year deal with him, I think it opens the door for more contract talks. And they saying, okay, do what you can for us this year. We're going to pay you this money, and we'll talk about next year. Maybe come October, we could see an extension come out of this.
Yeah, and unfortunately, running backs aren't going to get paid. It's the way the world is right now. I think the highest that we'll probably get to is McCaffrey, but I mean,
they still have to pay the Galladay deal off too.
If you make $12-13 million as a running back, you are highly paid as a running back. That's what it is. That's the market right now. It will probably change because, football changes. In 10 more years, we may see a resurgence in running backs. We may see the old school style of running backs happen again, but right now we're not in that period. There are so many talented running backs and so little spots that it's just like, oh, we'll play this guy. Like Evan Hall, Jonathan Taylor. They can get, probably 75% of Jonathan Taylor from Evan Hall. So why pay him tens of millions of dollars more than can pay
even Alexander Madison and Dalvin Cook? Perfect example.
So Colts considering putting Jonathan Taylor on the non-football injury list, the NFI. He suffered a back injury while working out on his own in Arizona. So that news just popped up.
That's not good.
No. So Jonathan Taylor, you can hear it falling.
Ooh. There goes his value.
It's falling, free falling. And speaking of somebody's value who's not falling, Cole Kmet,
on the upswing.
A lot of fandom here in the Dynasty Happy Hour. 4-year, $50 million contract, $32.8 million guaranteed, and it's not quite the contract for a tight end who managed 50 receptions, but he also scored 7 touchdowns in the last 10 games for the Bears. He seems to be a favorite target of Justin Fields, and I think people are like, oh, well, this is who he is. I still think he has an opportunity to bump up. We can see those touchdowns. I think the yardage will move up. People are thinking, oh, Darnell Mooney. I think it's DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, log out. That's all you need. And Justin Fields is going to pretty much run and throw for the rest.
Especially where, in Dynasty, it might not be a bad idea to go out and try to acquire him off that news. He's going to be tied to a pretty good quarterback in Justin Fields, where they want to experiment with Fields throwing the ball more. And we saw that work out last year at the end of the season. He's currently tight end 17. Dalton Schultz, Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer never took an NFL snap yet. Evan Ingram, he's way undervalued, in my opinion. But, a couple of guys there, Greg Dolchik, Sam Laporta, McBride. I don't know. Cole Kmet came first in that offense and I in that group. And I think he's going to start climbing up this dynasty rankings before the season's over, of course.
Yeah, and going to a league I'm in, the UDPL, with a bunch of fantasy football people, my tight ends are Cole Kmet, Evan Ingram, and like Jake Ferguson, some younger guys, Luke Musgrave, and I'm happy about it. Like I can literally play matchups with Ingram and Cole Kmet and let those young guys kind of blossom, and I'm good with that. And I pay nothing for those guys, while other people are paying premium for Mark Andrews and stuff. I may not be getting that type of production, but I'm not paying that crazy price for tight ends. I'm gonna figure it out. Youth, and I know Noah Fant's on the injured reserve, but I thought about it today. I'm like, maybe
just came off today.
I'm like, maybe I should go out and look at some Noah Fant, because as much as I, worry about his injury, he is dirt cheap and he has lots of talent. He's the next first-round pick. Who knows? That's what tight end is. Who knows? But Cole Kmet, a guy like that, is actually like 8 points. You're guaranteed. Oh, no, that kind of sucks. But, hey, 8 points from a tight end every week, and there's still a ceiling for him to score a touchdown. I'll take that. All right,
Sure.
You know what else I'll take? The trophy from everybody.
Ooh.
That's right. I'm going to take the trophy from you, because that is what is a huge thing for me in leagues. I picked up our League of 10,000 Lakes trophy. It is blue like a lake, and I missed this thing. Now, my friend won it who lives in South Dakota. He doesn't want me to ship it or anything, so I got to hang on to it for a year, even though I didn't win it. But it's going to stay here. And that's what makes fantasy football great, is the trophy. Like, yeah, the prize money's great. Trophies are so much better. We have a passing belt. Doug has it. It's back in Rhode Island in his possession. And you know what else is great? They're rings, which you can get completely free when you purchase a belt or trophy. You can get I got a ring right in the corner for my Trade Addict 7 championship in 2021, not 2001. And 2022, we won it again. So I need to go ahead and get a little tag to put on the other side of this ring, because I won it again. You can even go get yourself another ring, or just use this free ring you get with your trophy and keep it. Keep it for your past championships. Get a case for this ring. Put the logos around it for your championships you won, or be like Chef. Customize your belt. I want a customized belt.
So fun.
And the best part is whenever he wins a championship, he just gets to slap that bad boy on the belt. He doesn't need to pass it. It's his belt. It shows what he's done. It shows his accomplishments. And he can walk around the house confident with the Chef logo.
Oh, my wife loves him.
So good. So good. Yes, that is what you can do with the customizable belts. I thought about putting my Bob's Burger logo that I got made and putting that on the belt, because what's better than having a belt than a Bob's Burger character of yourself on the belt? But that is the fun you can do with Trophy Smack. You can get a ton more stuff for the losers, even wall stuff if you want a player or anything. Go check out their website, trophysmack.com. Use code DHHRING to get yourself a free ring with your trophy or belt. You're going to thank us, because they are great. They are honestly great. I love it. I love having trophies in leagues. All right. Should we get into the meat and potatoes of the episode?
Let's break it down, baby.
All right. Well, I kind of want to start off with, we're talking meat and potatoes. Let's start off with the crappy part of the meal.
All right.
I like
throw
roasted
some apps in.
I like roasted carrots. So, that's probably the worst part of this meal, but that's what we'll start off with, and that is the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay, we're going worst to first here.
Yeah. So
Let's go.
Jonathan Gannon, explosives, explosives, is in at head coach. Drew Petzing is in at OC, and these are all new guys. These are a new head coach, new OC. We have no idea what's going on, but I think we know. We do
Oh,
know.
I know.
There's a lot of crap until Kyler Murray shows up. Now, I know we've poo-pooed on Kyler Murray, but I think his value is very low. People don't want him. Thanks to us, we've told people we don't want him on teams. But I think I'm at the point now where give me some Kyler Murray. I'm kind of rooting for the guy now that everybody's just beating him up. I mean, he might cry because everybody's beating him up, but you know what? I'm going to help pick him up because this guy's dirt cheap, and he has the top 5 ability of the rushing as long as he comes back healthy. But he's still got a good arm. Like, people forget how good he actually is in fantasy. What are your feelings? I just want to jump into Kyler right away because I think that's the biggest thing here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out more so the head coach and the offensive coordinator, because I think that really plays to what we're going to see for fantasy. Yeah, explosive. Jonathan Gannon is a defensive coach. All right, he comes from a defensive mindset, which doesn't make me happy. However, Drew Petzing, he was a QB coach for the Browns prior to or after him being the tight end coach for the Browns for 2 years prior to that. So I believe he's going to come up with some crossing routes that may help Kyler Murray out. Kyler Murray cannot throw it deep accurately. I don't see it on a normal everyday basis, and they did not let him do that.
Yeah, so Cliff Kingsbury was a bad play caller. He was bad.
We have to kind of throw everything out that we saw Kyler do wrong and see if it's going to translate with the new coaching staff. And we will not know until probably week 2, week 3, when he's really back to a healthier Kyler Murray. But now's your chance. Like Tyler said, it's either your chance to buy in because his value has taken a hit, or get out. I mean, I think the market is split on him enough to where some people like him and like the opportunity still there. And the simple fact that he's only 25 years old, he just re-upped his contract. They are behind him. He's going to be there, for another until 2027.
Yeah.
So I like that. $230 million. That's not too shabby for a crybaby. I mean, a quarterback.
So his whole thing is Call of Duty. People rip on him for playing Call of Duty, but you know what? I think Call of Duty is falling. It's not good anymore. People are starting to realize it's just a money grab, and you don't hear as much as a big hey, Call of Duty. So it seems like he's taking his rehab serious. He's taking everything serious, and maybe wheels up. But behind him, Colt McCoy. He's a good backup. But it's Clayton Tune that you kind of want to keep your eyes on. I'll go through the depth chart. Are you done with quarterbacks? You want to talk about Clayton Tune?
I can speak on Clayton Tune real fast. Right. He's interesting, but I'm not all the way in on him. He probably best outcome, solid backup in the NFL. I don't think it's anything that I want to invest in for Dynasty.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are saying Stetson Bennett over Clayton Tune. They'd rather.
Yes,
I think I'd rather have Bennett personally because there's 100%. A greater opportunity for Bennett to keep the job. I think this is Kyler's job no matter what. Tune will be a good backup, like you said. Let's go to the running back room. James Conner's still there. They got him under contract for I think another year. Corey Kmet behind him, Keontae Ingram, and Tyson Williams. Yeah. So anybody here? I mean, Corey Kmet, we don't need to touch base on because he's the starter imminently. He's probably not kidding.
I think Keontae Ingram is kind of interesting.
Yes, I agree.
He can handle some backup work, but is not a star. He can be slippery if he finds the crease the right way. But he's already 24 and he's only in his second year. So that kind of makes me worried that if he doesn't get a chance to shine a little bit this season, he's going to be dynasty dust.
Yeah,
so
if there's an injury, they could be the ones to sign Zeke or Kareem Hunt.
100%, because it's not happening with Corey Clement or Tyson Williams. I'm sorry.
I sadly agree with Corey Clement, even though I still love the guy. But for me, yeah, they could be a team that, what if they start 2-0? What if this coaching, there's a lot of what ifs with this team. We could be all wrong and think this team could suck and they could win because players don't like losing. So if they do get off the hot streak, they could be like, hey, we should sign Kareem Hunt. We should sign Zeke. We should sign a running back behind him, behind James Conner, because we all know, James Conner doesn't like to stay healthy as much. Let's go into the wide receiver group. They got Hollywood Brown, who they got from a trade last season. Michael Wilson, the third-round pick. Rondell Moore, the small gadgety receiver that will hopefully be used correctly. We got
the
Greg
human Dortch.
Dortch.
The human Dortch.
They have him at slot receiver. Zach Pascal, they got as well.
No,
yeah,
we're not talking about Zach Pascal. Sorry.
So yeah, let's talk about these guys. They got a guy named Daniel Arias, and don't know who that is. So we won't
practice
worry about
squad.
that. Yep, practice squad guy. But I'm going off our lads, by the way, everybody listening. So I'm just naming the guys in the green, which they're rookies, just in case we all don't know and it just pops up. But let's go into these guys. Give me your takes on this wide receiver core.
I mean, we'll start off with the most shiniest star, the Hollywood Brown, Dynasty wide receiver 28, 26 years old. He's kind of the last man standing here, but he's in his last year of his contract. So I think Marquise Brown could be a sneaky buy right now in Arizona. His value has taken a little bit of a bump since the DeAndre Hopkins news. However, we still expect Kyler to miss some time. There may be some time for adjustments, blah, 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 blah. Let that echo chamber rock, because as many times as you think he's not a wide receiver one, like we said it about him in Baltimore, we said it about him when he's over in Arizona too. But he was wide receiver 5 through the first 6 weeks of the season when Hopkins was suspended last year. So if Murray gets back sooner than later, Brown could surprise us off the rip. And I'm okay with holding if you have him and not letting him go. And I'm also for acquiring him at a lower price than he has because of the bad news around the franchise. And it's a contract year where he could sign another 3-year deal somewhere else and be a real fantasy superstar for us.
I really like that because he is definitely forgotten. And at 26, he's still got enough juice to last 4 more years. Now, in Dynasty, that is a lifetime. People don't realize 4 years in Dynasty is forever. So, Kyler will be back. They're best friends. They have chemistry together. And I know you say Kyler is a terrible deep ball thrower, but I think personally, if they give the route options to Marquise Brown, I know you said crossing routes, which they do a lot in Cleveland. If those get hit with Hollywood, he has the speed to burn, and he can also take those deep balls and take them to the house. So I really like that. I think a second-round pick gets it done for Hollywood. But the closer we get to that season, people are going to start realizing, no.
The odd man out, in my opinion, are Rondale Moore, small, shifty, and Zach Pascal, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, Rondale Moore, it seems like the broken record, and we could talk about this for a lot of the slot receivers in their lightweight slot receivers that are super fast and agile. They get hurt more so than not. All right. He's missed 12 games in the past 2 seasons. That's not someone I want to invest in, even on the cheap. I'm not worth it. I'd rather put the stock into Michael Wilson, a guy who the new regime drafted.
6'2", 215. Like, it's a big
he's
boy.
An outside receiver, and he's going to be useful once again in crossing routes. What do? In Cleveland, they ran crossing routes more so with that and the tight end, which we can segue right into with Trey McBride, because McBride,
love Trey McBride.
He is he's Dynasty tight end 13, which I get he was a little off last year with Zach Ertz still there, but he's super athletic. Doug's kind of tight end. And the tight end position last year in this offense, obviously it's a different group of coaches, 108 targets. If he gets anywhere near at least half of that, he only had 39 last year, 265 and a touchdown. I mean, I'm okay with that. He's going to be involved in this offense. I think Zach Ertz, especially since he's injured, could open up some really good opportunity for McBride, and his value will rise.
100%. I think McBride he might walk away this year with the most catches of this whole group. And I mean, he's a second-round pick. People are shocked that the Cardinals drafted him, but we got to remember, this team was old. This team was getting very old. They needed the youth resurgence to kind of happen. And Trey McBride, over 1,000 yards with Colorado State. This guy is a phenomenal pass catcher. If he was in this group this year, he would be right there with, I think, Laporta Like, he'd be there with Laporta. I know the hype is nuts with Laporta.
Yeah.
Laporta's good. But McBride, as a pass catcher, phenomenal. Like, he's great. And it took him a little time to get, used to the play calls and stuff, because tight end is probably one of the hardest spots to learn as a rookie. So I think he's going to come in with Ertz hurt, and they're going to run 2 tight end sets. They're going to get their best players on the field. And I think it's Wilson. I think it's Hollywood Brown, Trey McBride, Zach Ertz when healthy, James Conner. They got 2 bookend tackles that, they drafted one this year. They got 2 bookend tackles. This team, when Kyler comes back, if they are kind of sitting there at 50-50, we could see this team take off and be better than we think. But personally, I don't think it's happening. I think they'll probably struggle.
Yeah.
And rumors have it they could be looking to just keep Kyler out a lot of the season and kind of play their cards, have that number 1 pick. And you know what happens? They could trade that, because they are not drafting. They could draft Marvin Harrison, which would be perfect for this team.
Oh, it would be perfect.
And then Kyler's value is through the roof, and that trade you made for a first-round pick is money in the bank. Like,
Yep.
That's how you do it. That's how you dynasty.
Double down.
Double down. Double Dutch down. All right, let's talk to another team that had very high hopes that fell apart, and that is the LA Rams. The Super Bowl hangover was way more than a hangover. It was the movie hangover. You're trapped on top of a building. You have no idea where your friends are, and that friend is Matthew Stafford.
The Rams got roofied.
Yes, we'll talk about Matthew Stafford first, and that quarterback room behind him, Stetson Bennett, the rookie 4th rounder, and Brett Rippin in the Terran. Let's go over Stafford. I mean, he had the opportunity to retire this year and decided he wants to play some more. Says he's in the best health of his life. I mean, yeah, because you have
of course
not
he
taken,
did.
He has not taken a hit, and he did look like he's on a different diet. Maybe he talked to Tom Brady, looked a little leaner, but Matt Stafford coming in here after winning the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and Stetson Bennett, who I think we all like as a winner in college. That's all he did was win, a walk-on guy, won in Georgia 2 years straight. And people are saying he's not a deep ball thrower. He's more of a no. This guy can chuck it, and he loved to throw deep at Georgia. People got to remember him and George Pickens had a lot of connections in Georgia. So let's talk a little bit about this quarterback room first.
Well, it's not so much the quarterback room that I want to pinpoint here. It's the poor offensive line. All right, they're 24th in pass blocking, 17th in run blocking. We know there's problems. Last year, the quarterback on the Rams, whoever it may have been, was sacked 59 times. All right, 29 of which were Stafford. So if he could stay healthy, I think his high-end QB2 ceiling is plausible. But if you don't have to take the risk, I don't want to.
I'm going to mention their offensive line starters. So this is going to be a fun practice. Rob Havenstein, who's been there for a long time.
Havenstein, haven't heard him.
Joe Noteboom, who was supposed to be the
Joe
guy.
Noteboom, got it.
He seems like every game I've watched on prime time that the Rams had, they talk about Noteboom and how he's supposed to be the guy that took over for what's his name, the older guy that played with him for a while.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
Now, you know what I'm talking about. Was supposed to take over, and every time I watched, is always getting beat. Pass rush,
Whitfield?
always getting beat with speed.
Can't remember his name. Whitfield.
Yeah.
Is his name Whitfield?
No.
I totally messed that up.
Let's keep going. Left guard, Steve Avila. Brian Allen at center. I've heard that before. Don't remember who he used to play for.
Celtics.
Logan Bruss at right guard. And then I said the tackle. So that seems like a heap and pile that you got to run behind. And speaking running behind, let's get right in. Well,
One last thing about Stetson Bennett is interesting. Okay, 4th round pick in the 23 draft, like Tyler mentioned, two-time Georgia champion. So he's capable of running an offense successfully, and I don't think he caves under pressure. I think he can do a fine job handling a backup role. And it may turn into something more if Matthew Stafford goes down and he gets more opportunity. And Tyler, unlike Kenny Pickett, all right, Stetson Bennett has 10-inch hands. Okay.
Yeah, but he's also 180 pounds. Kenny Pickett has him by about 40 pounds.
But the
But
hands, Tyler.
behind this offensive line, he will definitely have to work a little harder.
Yes.
But I do agree. I think if there's going to be a quote-unquote Brock Purdy this year, it will probably be Stetson Bennett or Clayton Tune. Pick your poison. But for me, give me the person who actually could take the starting role away from a veteran who is often injured and will probably be in because of the injury. Matt Stafford, he's going super late. I think he's got a year or two left. So me personally, give me Aaron Rodgers over Stafford, which
100%.
is weird to say, but the fact that Stafford is literally, made out of glass right now and being held together by, Gorilla Glue, that worries me. Let's go to the running backs, which is running behind this poor line, and the first person is Cam Akers, who's not a stranger to running behind bad offensive line. He's done his whole NFL career and his whole college career.
Yep.
Doug will tell you that. He's a Florida State guy.
Florida State.
Cam Akers, and then behind him, Kyron Williams, who Notre Dame fan, and you were a fan of last year. I think he showed some flashes. It was just injury. And Zach Evans, a lot of people's one of their favorite running backs coming into this class. And Ronnie Rivers, who I don't think we need to talk about. I think the three are mainly
and Ronnie Hillman now.
Ronnie Hillman, God rest your soul. I mean, we don't want to bring that up. He passed away last year.
Oh no,
James.
I'm sorry. What was this? We just went over it in the news. Royce Freeman.
I mean,
sorry.
Hey, Denver Broncos. I see how you got messed up.
Yep,
I get it. But
My
no, Ronnie
apologies.
Hillman, one of my top draft picks in Dynasty in
Rest in
2020.
peace, Hillman. Sorry, Royce Freeman.
2013, I think, was Ronnie Hillman's draft class with Tavon Austin. I took those two. You're welcome. Yeah, let's get into this running back group. Cam Akers, give me your thoughts on him and what you're doing.
Well, we know it's a poor offensive line. We already talked about that. Look for the Rams to add depth behind him. Up until yesterday, that's where my notes were. This is a final make or break year for Cam Akers in his rookie season. He's only 24 years old. He has sustained multiple injuries. We know that. But he really turned it on the last 3 weeks of the season, which gives me a little bit of feel goods.
He did that the year before that too. So
yeah,
that's
but check it out, man. 23 carries for 118 yards and 3 touchdowns against the top 10 rushing Broncos defense last year. All right, he didn't do that the year prior. So I think he has grown in the NFL. He had his ups and downs with McVay, and I don't think he stays in LA next year. So while the franchise is on the downswing, while everybody's talking crap about the offensive line, I'm going out and I'm trying to acquire Cam Akers. For what? For the second contract, not the first one. I don't really care what he does. Well, we'll see what happens, because you know what? I felt that same way about Miles Sanders after he was coming down off that bad year. And then poof, he had one great year with Jalen Hurts.
11 touchdowns and got his contract. Now, me personally, he was not coming off an Achilles injury either.
Fair enough. But I mean, it's not apples to apples. We know
the thing
this.
is, like, this guy was.
But he's a good RB2 flex option for your dynasty team.
Yes, but I think his price is way overpriced. Like, people the past 2 years have banked off of the past production of, like, hey, remember end of the season? Yeah, we went into the last year thinking that, and then guess what? He's just about to get cut. Is going to get cut. You got him for a third, then boom, he's now the starter. He's worth an early second, late first. And no, thank you.
You just trying to get out of on him? That's it.
Yeah, it's a running back going into second contract that was just about to get cut. I mean,
Zach Evans is the more interesting player.
I didn't like
in
his
this
tape.
backfield. I didn't like his tape either.
If
However,
McVay can get the best out of him, this could be a steal.
Right, and he's going to be that downhill runner, that goal line back. And we know he missed time for a hip injury in 2022. He's more muscle than speed, and I think if the Rams get down towards the goal line, we're going to see him a lot more than Cam Akers.
All right, I want to get right into these wide receiver groups because there's a couple of people I'm interested in. Ben Skowronek, we got, of course, Cooper Kupp right up top, the Triple Crown winner a couple years ago. Van Jefferson, who, let's not forget, is 27 years old already.
I looked at that and I wrote a question mark because I couldn't believe it.
He came in old. He had some injuries in Florida, so he came in older. And so now he's at 27. And we've got Puka Nakau, but it's
Nakua.
Puka Nuka is what I like to call him.
Oh yeah.
No. Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, the former second-round pick. But there's a couple guys I just kind of want to hit on, and that is Puka and Cooper Kupp. Now, I made a trade today. I got Devonta Smith and Nick Chubb. Now, the initial trade started at Cooper Kupp. And I thought to myself, I would like Cooper Kupp, yes. But for 2 years of production, I'm not giving up as much as I would for Devonta Smith. So I actually switched to Devonta Smith. So Cooper Kupp is very interesting to me. He had a major injury. They didn't even put him back on the field. They said, just sit. This is a lost season. And he's coming back, hopefully healthy. What are your feelings on Cooper Kupp? And say you are give me the outlook for two different teams. Like you have a winning team and you're a team that's definitely on the bottom of your dynasty league. What are you doing with Cooper Kupp?
Well, if I have Cooper Kupp on both of those teams, the winning team I'm holding because guess what? If I'm win now, I'm going to go for the win now. And if I don't wind up making the playoffs for some odd reason, I'm selling Cooper Kupp mid-season and getting rid of him. Same goes for if I am not competing this year.
Are you holding
at all
a little bit into the season?
No, I don't think so because I don't think I can see Cooper Kupp's value going up any higher.
I could. He has 10 catches, 162 yards, and a touchdown. Week 1.
Yeah, you might be able to squeeze a little bit more out of him, but he's still going right now for a first plus. All right. I mean, and maybe that plus is a better player, which is great. So I mean, if something else happens to this offense and they start falling apart again like they did last year, it's going to be a problem. You might lose some value. I think he's a perfect in-season trade candidate either way.
All right, now let's go to Puka Nakua, and let's talk about him and his value because a fifth-round pick, I know people are kind of like, oh, he's not going to pan out, but people don't realize, like, this guy started with Washington. I had him on a fantasy college team when I played college to Canton to whatever it is. Yeah, it was a league where pretty much you draft college players and they go to your dynasty roster as they get drafted. And I took him when he was a freshman, very high recruit, guy that is 6 foot to 6'2". I'm not
6 foot 210.
Yes, so he's a big guy, but he is a great route runner. He doesn't have the speed to burn you, but you know what? You don't need it when you are as good as a route runner as he is. And he's a player. Like, he's a run after the catch type guy, pretty much a Cooper Kupp style player. And that is what I'm looking at. Say the Rams aren't producing, which I see, and they could trade Cooper Kupp. And I think his contract isn't as bad as people think. Cooper Kupp could be a trade candidate to say, the Patriots, if they're winning, they need wide receiver help. And Puka steps right into Cooper Kupp's role, gets 6 catches. I think he could do what Cooper Kupp does, maybe like 80% of it, but the value's there, and he's going for nothing. What would you give for Puka?
I mean, at most a third. We really haven't seen too much.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go out and offer a second for a 5th-round pick out of BYU of all schools. No offense. I don't really like the WAC conference. But he did make some noise at the combine, and he could be in an in-season ad off of waivers. Like, you could see someone dropping him because he's not going to be immediately on the field. And they're like, oh, it's a 5th-round pick. But we have to remember that Van Jefferson's in the last year of his deal. All right, he's coming off an ACL tear last year, so he may not be 100%. And I think Puka Nakua, they went out and got him. Okay, so I'm okay with trying to acquire him. I mean, I really picked him up everywhere, like in the last round of my rookie drafts. But he's a fair asset, like an add-in in another trade.
Yeah.
Don't go specifically for Puka Nakua because then people are going to wonder why the hell you're doing it.
I would, because I think he is a guy that is going to blow up, and a guy that if I don't go out and get now, I will regret not doing it. And he's been a guy for the past month I've been trying to snag where I don't have him. And, of course, like you said, people wonder why. So they decline everything I send to him. So That is definitely the hardest part about being in the industry is even home league people wonder, what are you doing? What are you thinking?
What do you know that I don't?
Yes, which I know nothing. I am the Jon Snow, and I know nothing. So joke's on you.
Ha ha
Um,
ha.
I do want to hit their tight end room a little bit. I know Tyler Higbee's there. I don't like the inconsistency. I know everybody's on it because of the weapons. But the guy I'm looking at is a guy they got in the Jalen Ramsey trade, and that's Hunter Long. I was a big fan of him coming out of college. I'm looking at him as a throw-in piece or even a free agent guy. He's on the pup right now, but if he can stay healthy, this guy is a great pass-catching tight end. Like, people forget how good he was in college, and he had to sit behind Gesicki in Miami. But they put him in the deal. Like, they wanted him in the Jalen Ramsey deal, so that matters to me. Sean McVay saw something in him and saw, like, hey, this could be our future at tight end, and I like it. Would you do the same?
I mean, I don't mind the acquisition if you want to go out and try to,
He's probably on free agent.
play a lottery ticket on Hunter Long, who's been in the league, kind of proven as a receiving tight end, and has done well blocking as well. And we had all thought that he may be sticking around Miami this past year when Mike Gesicki was going to get out. And I was kind of sad to see him go in that high-powered offense, but I'm okay with him adding here. Tyler Higbee, he's Dynasty tight end 33 for good reason. All right. He's 30 years old. Like you said, he's very inconsistent. However, he finished as the tight end 6 in PPR last year, which is disgusting. So imagine if Hunter Long gets some of that work and eventually takes over. I'm not really trying to acquire Tyler Higbee, but Hunter Long, cheap asset that you can just go out and get pretty much off of waivers. I'm okay with it if you want to take a shot. I know we saw Bryson Hopkins try to get involved last year. It just didn't really seem to work out, and he may take some more time to develop.
All right, let's get right into Seattle. Let's jump right into it. But first, let's jump into what can help your life, and that is Manscaped. Manscaped can help every aspect. You know what? I have a subscription to Manscaped that sends me products every 3 months. Well, I ran out of a certain product, and that is the ball deodorant. I mean, we use deodorant on our armpits, and they smell. But what could smell worse during a hot day, which is how hot it is? Your undergarment. So get some deodorant for that. I love it. I use it every day. It's got the stuff that doesn't allow it to stick, so you just feel comfortable, smooth.
Yeah, cool, no chafing. You smell good. You don't sweat. I mean, it's your wife's dream.
I mean, I felt like I've talked enough about my balls on here, so we will just move on.
Yeah, I mean, let's just keep it clean, all right? Choose Manscaped for all your grooming needs. Use code DHH for 20% off. Manscaped, your balls will thank you for it. Let's move right on.
All right, let's get right into Seattle, because this is going to be a fun team, an interesting team. Now, at first we got Geno Smith, who came back and became a top quarterback. Like, this guy was top in completion percentage. This guy was accurate as could be, and he got his contract. He got what was deserved.
2 years.
2 years. Drew Lock behind him, and Holton Elhurst, whoever that is. But pretty much it's Drew Lock and Geno Smith that will probably be on this team. The whole 2 quarterbacks, but Drew Lock, we don't need to talk about him. Let's talk about Geno.
Yeah, I mean, everybody was talking like Drew Lock was the next best thing since sliced bread last year. Boy, were they wrong. All right, Geno Smith, I mean, he comes in very low ranked, QB 21 in Dynasty, and I get it. He's 32 years old, kind of had a resurrected career after last season. Everybody doubted him after the Jets, et cetera, but there's one thing that's really important here, and the coach, Pete Carroll, loves Geno Smith. He loves the fact that he understands the offense. He can read the defense. They said, okay, here's a contract. And now they add more passing weapons in this offense, which, JSN, who we will talk about, Zach Charbonnet, who I thought was awesome in my RB2 in this draft class. I'm all about Geno Smith as the winner coming out of this draft. They didn't go and draft a quarterback in a quarterback kind of heavy draft. They went out and got weapons for the future. And I think it just says that Geno Smith is going to do more of the same. He finished his QB5 last year. I think he can definitely repeat that sort of production in 2023.
Yeah, people are doubting it, but I mean, if it's the same offense, why not have the same production, especially when they add weapons?
Yeah.
Geno is the poor man's Jared Goff, I think, in Dynasty, where people don't want any part of him. He's 33 years old, I think, so he's still young enough to where he's got 3 or 4 years if he can stay consistent like this. But if he keeps this up, a second-round pick for Geno in a Superflex league where you need quarterback help, he's a great quarterback.
If
too.
you
Like,
can get
so
him
good.
for a second, smash it.
Yeah, and that's what you're gonna have to pay. Nobody wants to. If somebody's getting a second, they're out because they, got him for free probably. So I think a second will get.
Would
it
you
done.
pay up to a late 2024 first
No,
if
I would-
competing and need a second quarterback due to
I would
injury?
not. I would not. Like a first rounder, I'm looking to add more to it to get somebody higher. Like
Fair
if
enough.
I'm going to give up a late first, I'm going to go for a Jared Goff, who I think is in I'd say a similar offense, but is younger. I get 5 more years, and I think we'll get his extension as well.
Fair.
Let's go to the running backs. Aforementioned, we mentioned the news. Kenneth Walker the third, and Zach Charbonnet. We got DJ Dallas and Kenny McIntosh, who is apparently catching everything, and his explosiveness is showing up, which is weird because the guy ran a 4.7 40. Like, he was slow. People thought he'd come out faster. It was like a 4.65 or so. I'm kind of undermining him and not giving him his credit, but it was not fast. And Kenny McIntosh, though, is known for his pass catching ability, so that could eat away at DJ Dallas. But we are here to talk about the big two, the 2 second rounders from each year, Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, both hurt. If you were given an opportunity and you had to choose, which one are you going after?
I'm going to go after Kenneth Walker.
Who everybody hates.
Everybody
Hates Kenneth Walker.
Everybody hates him, and everybody was doubting his talent last year. But as soon as we really saw him get the opportunities needed, I mean, he really started to show up. I mean, if he has at least 18 attempts a game, he's getting at least 10 fantasy points. He may not have all these blow-up games, but I'm okay with that. He's only 22 years old. I'm not selling him away. I believe in the talent and the physicality. Yes, his ceiling might be capped because Charbonnet is there now and he's not going to get any passing work, but we never really banked on him to get the passing work.
Yeah.
I think
we hoped.
We he can
knew.
do it, but we know that we also don't want in Dynasty when a 22-year-old running back is already Dynasty running back 9. We don't want him to get the full bell cow role. Don't be selfish, because then all of a sudden, poof, they're gone. And we already know the injury history in this backfield. It is real, and it already has taken place here in training camp in the first week. All right, Zach Charbonnet, shoulder injury. That's not good. Like, we need him catching balls, breaking through tackles. That's what he's great at. All right, Kenneth Walker, it's going to be a slight thing. I think both of these guys sit for the rest of training camp, and this talk between the two running backs in Seattle goes on late into August, and we're sitting here right before the beginning of the season saying, man, I really don't know what I should do. And that's when the offers start coming in. That's when you could start attacking, hey, I'll get Kenneth Walker for, a second plus a player. Maybe happens.
Yeah. And this
I would do maybe Joe Mixon in a second for Kenneth Walker right now.
I don't think you'd have to. I think you could do Joe Mixon and a player.
And a player. Puka Nacua.
Yeah, that could get it done. And for me, I like both players. I think they're both good, and they both can feed off of each other. Why not?
Yeah.
Tony Pollard and Zeke worked perfect. Like, I get we all hated it, but Tony Pollard didn't need 20 carries to be elite. We all wanted it to happen, but it didn't, and it still worked out. Like, you're not getting a full workload running back anymore. We've seen it. It's not happening anywhere. It rarely happens anywhere. And I'd say Saquon is probably like the only one, and he didn't really get paid. So for me, Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, I think they're both kind of in that buy window, and it's just take your pick. And I think both are even priced. If you went up to somebody and said, hey, I want Zach Charbonnet, I think you'd probably have to give up the same amount for Kenneth Walker, because there's so much hate on Kenneth Walker right now. It's ridiculous, and everybody loved him last year. Go back and look at all the news, all the tweets. Everybody loved Kenneth Walker to the point where they said, this guy could be better than Breece Hall. Like, that was a talk going on, and now all of a sudden, a year later, here we are.
All right.
where everybody hates him.
And realistically speaking, if you have one, you should probably, if you have Kenneth Walker, you should probably try to go out and acquire Zach Charbonnet.
You could probably play both of them too.
Correct. I have both of them in multiple leagues. And if one goes down, the other one's going to get the full workload. I don't believe in DJ Dallas. He's a fill-in. Kenny McIntosh, I know he likes his apples. He gives an apple every day to the teacher, etc. Pretty good right now, giving Pete Carroll some apples on a daily basis in training camp. However, they brought Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker into this offense, early draft capital for both of them. It's their jobs to lose.
Yep. Let's go to this amazing wide receiver core. We are way over time, but you know what? This is a very in-depth episode.
Called DHHR. You know?
Yeah, All right, let's go over this. DK Metcalf stud, Tyler Lockett, 32 years old, season coming up, but still producing. And Jackson Smith, the Jigba, the first receiver taken in the 23 draft, who is my wide receiver one in this draft class, and I think is going to be elite. All the hype coming out of camp has been this guy's special. DK Metcalf came out and said this guy's going to be special.
Mm-hmm.
And we all saw that his sophomore year, you know, in Ohio State. Why are people not expecting him to be great? Like, I know he had a bad junior season, a very injury-riddled season. This guy's elite. Like, this guy was outplaying Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. I think he's way better than Chris Olave personally, because I think Chris Olave is a good wide receiver too. But I think he's right there with Garrett Wilson. I loved Garrett Wilson. JSN is right there talent-wise with him, and if fully healthy, this guy could be, you know, the wide receiver one for this team. He's going to play out of the slot. And Tyler Lockett, I know he's played a ton of games, you know, Mr. Iron Man. But like we said, you know, usually that streak comes to an end closer to their 30s. He's 32. It could happen. And JSN could get 140 targets. Why not?
I don't think it happens yet. All right. What I always look at a team, I look at the full room and try to compare it to what we've seen around the league before, because it is a copycat league. Take the Cowboys, for example. They had Amari Cooper. They bring in CeeDee Lamb. All right. CeeDee Lamb starts in the slot. We don't really see a full CeeDee Lamb's potential hit yet until he moves outside. All right. And I don't think this happens this season for JSN, which is okay because he's a rookie. He's only 21 years old, and he still dealt with a hamstring injury last year. So I am hesitant to say he's going to be the wide receiver one on this team when you have DK Metcalf, who commands targets as an alpha, Tyler Lockett, who has only finished inside the top 15 wide receivers the past 4 years. All right. And he's signed through 2025. So he's 30 years old. We could see another year, obviously the 2023 season, most likely the 2024 season. And if he's going to be a cap hit casualty, it comes in 2025. So JSN has time to grow. He has time to blossom. And they're going to be stunning offense. There's no reason why this offense can't compete with the number one offense last year in this division.
I think he's a 1,000-yard receiver year one.
And if he is, sky is the limit.
Yeah. I think he produces. He is. I mean, they drafted him. I get it was a luxury pick, but I mean, let's talk about their first round draft picks. Witherspoon has not signed. He's holding out because he wants, you know, guaranteed. No. So, I mean, there's a lot of hate on Witherspoon. You know, he could hit and stuff, and he can play the ball, but we won't get too deep in the IDP. But yeah, holding out as a rookie, you haven't even set foot on the field. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
JSN coming in, he was supposed to be the luxury pick, and he looks like he's going to be the pick that should have been at 106, where Seattle took Witherspoon, or 105, I think.
Well, they got him out of value.
Yeah. So JSN, I think, is going to smash.
I mean, he's comped to Doug Baldwin / Julian Edelman.
Yeah.
He's got glue for hands, and he's super versatile. Like that's all you need to know about JSN.
Now,
go out and acquire.
We all know Tyler Lockett's probably a value. You can get him for a second, and he's going to produce as a wide receiver too.
Yeah,
every year. I mean, you could
trade Gabe Davis straight up right now for
probably.
Tyler Lockett,
and
you can. Matched.
And for me, like Tyler Lockett, we could take this clip, cut it out, and put it on to next year. He's a value. He's going to stay a value. And if you need help at receiver, he's a great person to go after. That's not going to break the bank. And DK Metcalf was wide receiver 2 at one point in Dynasty. He's kind of fallen off. I think it's because of all the weapons. He is turning into more of their big deep threat guy, and
he's like a Mike Evans.
For me personally, it's just like that. He's gonna have his weeks where it's 4 for 30, and doesn't break a big gang, but he's gonna have weeks where it's 7 for 140 and 3. Like he's gonna have weeks like that, and I think right now his value is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You'd probably have to give a first, and if I need receiver, I'd be willing to give a first. But I mean, he's at the point where he's 2 more years away from getting another contract. He signed a 3-year deal last year, so he's going to be due for another contract. He could go to a different team, value rises, but I still think he's one of the most ultra talented players in the NFL that doesn't get enough credit for how good he is because he's with Tyler Lockett and now JSN. So I think the value could actually drop a little bit.
He's valued perfectly right now.
Yeah,
DK
no, I
is.
agree.
Dynasty wide receiver 12. He finished wide receiver 16 last year. And I don't know if he's going to grow anymore. His value may not rise, but it definitely, I think he's hit his ceiling. He has hit his ceiling as far as value goes. But I think you're going to get the return on the investment. Like he can easily stay in that 10 to 12 range.
Yeah.
And be happy. And I'm happy with that. And as long as he's not your wide receiver 1, because he is more of a boom and bust positional wide receiver, I love him as a wide receiver 2, man. You can really do some damage with DK as a wide receiver 2 for your dynasty rosters.
No, I agree. And let's go to tight end quick. And we already talked a little bit about Noah Fant, how I think he's a screaming value at the moment. Other than that, I'm good. I think they're going to use JSN inside more.
Yeah, I'm kind of off a fan. I was on him a little bit last year until the injury kind of really kept up with him. Now he's dealing with some kind of undisclosed knee issue, which I guess he just got cleared coming off the pup today. Yep. He's only 25 years old, ranked currently Dynasty tight end 21. But I don't think he's going to be very fantasy relevant with JSN working in the middle of the field. So I'm off a Noah Fant.
Okay. All right, let's get right into the San Francisco 49ers, the best team in the division. And I don't think we need to talk much about that because we know it. Let's go into the quarterback room because they got 3 quarterbacks, Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, who apparently has fallen to quarterback 3 on the depth chart because Sam Darnold is throwing lasers all over in training camp. Now, I get people like, oh, God, here we go. Mm-hmm. I think this sticks. I'm out on Trey Lance. I think the hope is done. I mean, the guy hasn't played football in so long, and the team does not show anything about him. Like, there's no hype about him. There's no, like, progression. It's all Purdy. Like, they're all talking about Purdy and how good he looks, and Darnold. Nothing about Trey Lance. So, I know the hype and hope was there. I think Trey Lance...
He currently still ranked higher in Dynasty ADP, QB 22 compared to Purdy 28. Darnold...
Purdy.
Not ranked.
Give me Purdy, 100%. Like I'm taking Purdy over Trey Lance.
That's changed, huh? Yep. Your stance?
Yep. I hate it, but unless Trey Lance gets traded, he's stuck there.
This is a perfect example of why you don't invest a high first round rookie pick in a conference player in a risky style of quarterback that came from a lower tier, Division II school. What, South Dakota State?
North Dakota State.
North Dakota State. I apologize. He was in the North.
He played 19 games season. Or so.
Yeah, one season, and he was great in that one season. However, it's not always going to pan out. So be careful what you spend your first round rookie picks on. It could turn into Brock Purdy versus Trey Lance.
Trey Lance was my biggest.
And Sam Darnold, he can go sniff a ghost's butt. I'm not interested at all.
I might go snag some Darnold for cheap.
You might snag some Darnold? No.
Because Purdy, if Darnold's quarterback 2, and Purdy still has,
I think they're going to use Trey Lance to some extent, just so they can trade him away. Because this team does not have a lot of draft capital.
Chances. They had so many chances.
They should have just got rid of him to Green Bay a year ago.
Not Green Bay. I mean, they had Tennessee. the rumors were Tennessee was looking at him. There's a lot of teams looking at him. I mean, Houston before they took Stroud. There was a lot of talk about a lot of teams interested. Atlanta, and they didn't. They decided not to trade because
they're just going to let Trey Lance rot on the bench, which is just ridiculous.
And I agree. I think the footballer said this. There's only so many coaches that could do this, and Shanahan's one of them. Shanahan can take the punch in the gut for giving up that much draft capital for a player and still be praised for what he did.
What are the odds that the Raiders trade for Trey Lance?
I could see that.
And we'll go right up behind Jimmy G and say, "Hey, buddy, what's going on?"
It needs to happen.
Yeah,
because
just for the media, just for social media, that needs.
Honestly,
to happen.
Darnold and Purdy are the two quarterbacks that you'd want for the 49ers, which is crazy. And I hate saying it, and it hurts me because I love Trey Lance, and I'm out. If I have him, I'd take a second for him.
Brock Purdy's just not making enough mistakes to put Trey Lance in ahead of him. He 5-0 as a starter, and you were Mr. Irrelevant. 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That says something.
That's elite.
Yeah,
that's good.
We want that out of all our quarterbacks for Dynasty.
Yep.
And does Trey Lance bring that to the table? No, he doesn't. I think Brock Purdy can play the offense that Shanahan wants him to play, and that's the reason why he's the starting quarterback going forward.
All right, let's go to the running backs. Christian McCaffrey.
Who's that?
Running back. He's the only running back that if you had him at running back 101 and you didn't trade him, you're happy. You're okay. All right, cool.
Exception to the rule.
He's literally the exception to the rule.
Mm-hmm.
So Elijah Mitchell behind him, that's the only guy I want.
Cheaper ad. Yeah. Third, fourth round pick.
TDP from last year, nothing. Nope. Didn't show anything. Jordan Mason, we all had a little offseason hype. Nothing. I mean, he was okay, but I'm saying nothing. It's Mitchell and CMC log out, and if they get hurt, they are a team that would sign a Zeke or a Kareem Hunt easily. I think it'd be quick. So let's move on to the wide receivers, which is a little more juicy, and they've got Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel on the outside. Deebo, I guess apparently looking healthy and strong as ever. Was very unhappy with this season. Juwan Jennings, the big tall dude on the outside that gets the occasional 4 for 60 or 70 and it's just
not relevant.
Yep. Ray McLeod. They got Chris Conley. They got Willie Snead, and the guy who I'm interested in, Danny Gray, their third-round pick from last year, who I think can still grow as a player. I get he didn't really do too much, but for me, Danny Gray is the guy I'm keeping my eye on.
The cheap shot.
Loved him at SMU. And, a third-round pick. People got to remember that. He was a third-round pick for this team that didn't have many picks. So, Brandon Ayuk and Deebo are the two that we should really talk about. And Ayuk is due for a contract soon. I know they picked up his 5th year, but the contract's coming up, and Deebo's already paid. So, here we go.
Yeah, I think they're both on. Well, Ayuk is 25 right now. He's still on his rookie deal. It'll be done after 2024, so look for maybe an extension going towards Ayuk. He seems to have grasped Kyle Shanahan's.
He's having a crazy offseason once again.
Every
offseason, Ayuk has a crazy offseason.
And I would every year I come out and say I don't expect Brandon Ayuk to do too much, and he's doing more and more every season. So normally I would say I don't expect a huge step forward, but I kind of do. We saw Ayuk eat in the offense with Purdy as the quarterback. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with him and Deebo. I think they're going to go, they're going to be a 1A and 1B situation, and they're not too far off in age. This is the wide receiver room for at least the next 2 seasons, this year and next year. I'm okay with either one. I really don't have anything negative to say about it. The only thing is, Brandon Ayuk could get vultured a little bit by the tight end George Kittle. A little bit.
So for me, my buy is Deebo because of the age. People see the age of 27, they're like, he's getting close. Deebo's used differently. So I
signed through 2025 already.
Yes, I think Deebo's the buy because he is just a tad cheaper than Ayuk. Even though Ayuk shouldn't be more expensive because Deebo has a top 5 season in his book. But for me, Deebo's the buy. And I think he's a very interesting and fun buy. And after his tremendous season, his value's dropped. Let's go to the tight ends and
Purdy's. Wait. I got a little interesting tidbit for Deebo because you said possible buy or is a buy. I think it's a possible buy low opportunity. I mean, we haven't seen his value this low since he truly broke out in 2021 and finished as the wide receiver 3. He finished last year as wide receiver 40 overall.
Yeah.
So
Injuries.
he dealt with 5 injuries last year, which included 2 hamstring strains, quad sprain, high ankle, blah, 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 blah. He missed 4 games. This is your opportunity to buy Deebo Samuel.
Yep, 100%. And George Kittle, who nobody wants to buy because the age is creeping up, he's 29, which is still relatively young for a tight end. He dealt with major injuries. I think Kittle could be a guy who, I know he dealt with a ton of injuries because of the style of play. What if he's just healthy? Like, what if all of a sudden he just hit 30 and had that dad strength and becomes healthy? Purdy loved Kittle. I mean, whenever Purdy was in, Kittle was all of a sudden a top 3 tight end. He was back up there with the Kelce's and the Mark Andrews.
He had some big games. Week 15 and 16, he finished as the tight end 1, tight end 3. But before that, he was averaging only 10 fantasy points per game, which gave him around tight end 8, which maybe the juice isn't worth the squeeze if you can't peg when he's going to have those big boom games.
Yep. And I mean, it all depends on price. What are people willing to
I'd rather have
trade?
Kyle Pitts than George Kittle.
Well, I mean, everybody would in Dynasty, but for me, I don't think you got to pay that price. A Kittle you could get for a couple seconds, personally, because of the age and the injury past and the history. But also, we're also getting into, like, if I could get Kittle over, like, Evan Ingram and Cole Kmet that we mentioned earlier. Those two are the cheap safety blankets. If you can't get a guy like Kittle, Pitts, Andrews,
I'm okay with Evan Ingram if I don't have George Kittle.
I think you have to pay tons less to get Kittle over Hawkinson, and I think I would rather. I'd rather have Kittle over Hawkinson at the moment, especially with Purdy being hyped as a quarterback. So that's it. We did it. We ran an hour and 20 minutes. It was a little long, but you know what? We really want to get into depth of this really bad division just to really have you guys listen to our voices the whole time about things that probably won't even matter in the end, but we like to talk fantasy. We're getting in that time period. James, I mean, we all talk about Dynasty Nerds. I want you guys to go check out Dynasty Nerds. Use code DHH for 15% off the Nerd Herd subscription. I use the Nerd Herd app, the GM app, today for trades. I've used it a ton on these trades. Like, I've looked, like, I feel like I was going to accept a trade, and it's just more like let's take a look to see if I feel my value is correct. And that's what I use trade calculators for.
Yes, that's the only thing they're good for.
If my gut feels correct and just kind of like, oh yeah, that's a pat on the back. So go out, 15% off a subscription of a Nerd Herd subscription, and you get the free episode, you get the Dynasty GM, you get a lot of stuff. The film room, which we use from January to March.
Huge bonus.
Yes.
That film room.
So go out and get that. And also go check Viridian Global for any shirts or anything you need.
Holy shirts and pants.
Holy shirts and pants. Other than that, James, we finished the episode without Doug. We will see him next week. You want to end on anything?
Yeah, just follow us on Twitter. At Dynasty Happy Hour, right?
Yes, at Dynasty HH Pod on the X app.
On the X
Twitter
app
anymore.
Oh, it's not Twitter anymore. I forgot.
It's not.
It got axed.
It's X.
It got X'd. All right.
Follow us on Facebook. We're on there too. And you can follow me on that Did It app that I'm going to try out a couple times this week and see if anybody wants to talk with me.
Oh, I'll talk with you.
But
I'm not giving you any money for it, though.
Well, yeah, you have to if you want to chat, get some advice.
Oh, mainstream Tyler, here we go.
But everybody, we will see you next week. Doug will be here, thank God, because you know what? This is a thankless job hosting. So, Doug, we miss you. Once again, thoughts and prayers out to you and your family. And I can't wait to see you again next week. Bye.
Later.